It's Monday, and this is where we get together to celebrate a slap by Smith. Yes, indeed, it is a cricketing celebration of a slap in the face of the opposition by Odean Smith, who announced his presence in this tournament and certainly lauded it over the opposition. Welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I've set the theme, but today the actors are going to be in blue. Two brand new sets of actors going against each other. It's going to be Lucknow against Gujarat. Welcome to two new teams. Welcome to two, well, not very new guests. Shaun Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya. Good evening, gentlemen. Shaun?
Yeah, hi you guys. I hope you're all good and set for today and ready to go and to see who will slap the most sixes and boundaries.
Right, over to you, Joy.
I'm just going to roll with the punches. There's too much happening out here. I'll roll with the punches. I was just thinking that look up this morning. Srishant must be feeling very, very nostalgic this morning.
Yeah, well, we need to see
Pachi.
which of the two teams will emerge as victorious for the first time in their very, very fledgling careers. It's a battle of the blues, actually. Shaun, to start with, we were having a chat off air just before the show as to two brand new teams. They've got lots of colors to choose from, other than maybe green, and they both went for blue. One, a very light blue, reminiscent of your first season.
Yeah, it's the first season with MR. We had that light blue, but yeah, I think I wouldn't mind them getting a bit more adventurous with their choices of color. I suppose when you look at certain teams, the ones who've dictated terms, the ones who've won championships, they haven't really changed too much. KKR slightly from like a purple to a black. It's been yellow for Chennai all the way through, and this beautiful blue for Mumbai Indians. So I think that accounts for 9 or 10 of the championships or 11 of the championships. But it would have been nice if they'd come up with something different. It's always nice to have a look at a different outfit. I enjoy the fact that Rajasthan have gone pink. I suppose that makes sense to where they're from. But yeah, it was an opportunity, but I think they've missed it. So I'm happy with the light blue, but the other one,
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what it is. At least they don't look like each other. We've had situations like that which need to be rectified. Then you need the home and away jerseys. But for now, Joy, a lot of focus will be on Hardik Pandya. KL Rahul, of course, we've seen him in that role as captain. But for Hardik Pandya, it's a relatively new role in more senses than one.
Absolutely. But, to start with, this is the first season post 2008 where two teams are playing their first match together. It only happened in year one of the IPL. Because even in 2011, when the new teams came in, Kochi played somebody else and, Pune played somebody else. So this is the first time after 2008 that two new teams are making their debut together. So it's a big, big day. And yeah, Hardik Pandya, I think, I don't know whether he'll feel the pressure because he believes he's this complete avatar of a Caribbean. And it's made me so nostalgic because in the 80s and 90s in Indian cricket, Ravi Shastri was the guy who was all reggae and all. And I think his spiritual successor is Hardik Pandya. And it's all about style. And I'm going to go out there and express yourself and, do the thing. So I think he's going to talk like that. Interesting will be, I think he'll talk the talk and walk the walk. Now, whether he actually performs in the field, that's going to be very much more important for all of us.
Shaun, the big talk around the entire tournament was about looking for captains. Kolkata were looking for a captain. Bangalore were looking for a captain. The two new franchises obviously were looking for a captain. Lucknow, in a sense, was a natural succession. Wherever Rahul went, he would probably become captain. What's your take on Hardik Pandya captain? Could it be a master stroke or was it an obvious choice?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it takes a special personality in many ways to captain T20. You have to have a bit of a thick skin. You have to be able to hold your nerve. Passionate individuals can get carried away because of the heat of the battle and how fast-paced the encounters are. So it might be a masterstroke. Sometimes guys who maybe walk a different line to the other people in the team are brought in line by giving them a responsibility of captain. And when they get engaged, they can really get to the bottom of their team and really give them a good vibe and a lot of good energy. So it'd be interesting to see if he does that. I think he's always seemed to have quite a calm and calculated brain. Even when he's bowling and batting, it seems like he thinks things through. So it'll be interesting to see what tactics he decides to employ and what sort of character he wants to be on the field. There are different characters, different ways of doing the captaincy gig. It's going to be interesting to see what he does.
Of course, if results go his way, it will probably flow very naturally into him. But the first result that he's managed to win is the toss of the coin. I'm not sure that always translates into performance, but it's Gujarat who have won the toss. They've invited the men in light blue from Lucknow to have a bat first. And let's go quickly, Joy, and have a look at the 11. The first time they'll be putting out an 11. We speculated a lot about it, but this is what the darker shade of blue will be sporting in game number 1. A lot of talk about the younger Indian players who would come in. Varun Aaron, in a sense, coming back into the fold. Mohammad Shami, Ferguson, Rashid Khan. Look at the experience in the bowling lineup there, Joy.
I think it's a great bowling setup. It looks like a terrific bowling. Rashid Khan, Lockie Ferguson, Shami in an attack. Tawati is more than useful. Varun Aaron. This is a decent bowling attack, even if Hardik Pandya doesn't bowl. I'm really excited about seeing Abhinav Manohar. The other choice was Riddhiman versus Vijay Shankar, and I think they've gone with Vijay Shankar because of his more all-round ability. Also, I think he can bowl a bit for them. They think Vijay Shankar could also give a couple of overs if they need to. This is a terrific bowling side, so I think that's what they're trying to do, get their bowlers up front to go there and do something. I'm trying to look at their lineup and look at who is the batsman who's going to give them 500 runs. Because if you're going to win an IPL tournament, you need 1 or 2 guys to give you a 500, somebody to give you a 400 odd. Who are these guys in the top 3? Shubman Gill, he's got to be the guy. Abhinav Manohar is still an unknown quantity. Shubman Gill, Matthew Wade is, of course, vastly experienced, but he's not really so far in the subcontinent set it on fire. So Shubman is big. Can Vijay Shankar take off? Big question. Because if he does, he has all the talent in the world. They're relying on 3 guys who are relatively unknown guys to get them big runs.
David Miller's, of course, done it in that middle order, Shaun. But yeah, a lot of question marks will be on someone like Matthew Wade. He's, in a sense, in a very similar mold to someone like Darcy Short. Performs in the big bash, scores runs at the top of the order pretty much every time. But when Darcy Short came to India, he really was found wanting.
Yeah, I think what happens, with guys in their international careers, Wade was out of the mix for a while. He comes back in. I think he's got something different. I think mentally he's got a slightly more mature approach. I think he's more calculated in what he does. I think he's got a better understanding what's required at the top of the order. So I'm interested to see how he goes. I think he's obviously always had the firepower and the ability. David Miller is another one for me in a similar kind of boat. He played 1 game last year. I think was run out without facing the ball and then sat on the sides. And he's matured. I've seen a lot for South Africa where he's very much more calculated, so he's not as hit and miss as he can be at times. And I think also the thought of having Pandya there in the middle order, often it was David Miller, you've got to do the job on your own. Let's see what you can do. Now he's got a partner in crime. And they can almost take the pressure off each other, form a bit of a partnership. So I like the look of them. I don't think they change much when the other players come in. I think who's there still to come back? Joseph, he might get into the mix. But in many ways, they're a pretty settled unit. I think there's a few boys there with a point to prove it. Let me put it that way, who've been out, who've been chomping at the opportunity to get a second chance. And this is it.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Gujarat is one of the franchises who don't have too many people waiting to come in. Delhi was badly affected by for various reasons. But every time we say Pandya for today's game, we've got to make sure we refer to which one, because the 2 brothers are clashing. Hardik against Krunal. We've talked about Hardik's team, which he's leading. Krunal is going to be in the light blue. Where will the Pandya family? Who will the Pandya family support? Well, we'll wait and find out. This is the Lucknow lineup for the first time. Very, very solid and exciting in the batting for sure. I'm not sure about the bowling, Joy, but Rahul, de Kock, Pandey, Lewis, Huda, Krunal.
Yep, lots of interesting names. Mohsin Khan, Ayush Badoni, both of them unknown quantities. Very often it works in the IPL because, you have bowlers that other guys have not yet, really done too much research on, and you have an opportunity to get that first few blows in. This is a solid batting lineup. Again, it's interesting because both teams are really leading with, their batting rather than, with their stronger suits. If you look at Lucknow, if you look at Gujarat's stronger suit is its bowling. Lucknow's stronger suit is its batting. So it's interesting to see how they're going to clash and what's going to happen out here. Nerves are going to play a huge factor because first match, there is going to be a lot of pressure on them. So interesting to see where they go.
Yeah, we'll bring that back, Shaun, for you to have a look at. Trust me, if names like Ayush Badoni, Mohsin Khan are going to be new to everybody. We're going to have to start learning more about them. So, going by that, just focusing on the bowling. Ravi Bishnoi, of course, new franchise. Everyone's in a new franchise, tried and tested. Avesh Khan will be leading the attack along with the international Dushman Tachamida.
Yeah, just playing the three internationals, it seems that way. And I think they'll miss their two guys, Jason Holder, Stoinis. I think that brings a real depth to the batting order. Bowling-wise, Jason Holder's really starting to perform superbly well. And you're going to get a few overs from Stoinis when they get back. But for now, it is a bit of an untested sort of partnership or a couple of bowlers that are going to be used this evening. So guys wouldn't have seen them before. I always do say this first week or so is a bowler's nightmare because they're all trying to get back into the mix of the pressure, trying to get their skills up to scratch, and it can be challenging. So if there's any opportunity to throw someone new in, why not? Most of the other guys are going to struggle as well, and they're forced to do it. So let's see how they can get on.
Yeah, I've just Mohsin Khan I've seen a bit because he was one of the guys who was anyone who's around the Mumbai Indians setup for a long time again, and I'm not saying this, Shaun, because you're here. They pick good guys and they keep them in their camp and they have them as net bowlers. So Mohsin Khan was in Mumbai, if I remember rightly, 2020, 2021. He was there. He was around the camp. He was bowling with them. He was there in the squads. So I think left arm fast bowler has a bit of an angle, nice angle, brings it back a bit. So I think that's what they look at. And almost every coach in the IPL, whether it's Zahir Khan, all these guys, you like left-arm bowlers. They just seem to have a little bit of an edge, a little bit of advantage bowling against right-armers. So Mohsin Khan's that. Ayush Badoni is a bustling batsman, plays for Delhi, under-19 kid. Lots of confidence, just played 5 T20 matches, really. Nothing much to show for in terms of actual experience. But, these are the kind of guys that they just throw out and put things out there for. They're just turning around and saying that, okay, you guys are there, go there and do something about it.
One point, Joy, there's one name who's in the squad but not in the 11 for obvious reasons. It's Gautam Gambhir for the Lucknow squad. Of course, he's been part of this setup ever since they started putting the franchise together. How much of GG do you see in today's lineup and, of course, going ahead in the season?
I see a lot of GG. I see a lot of GG if he and Andy Flower can work together. I see a lot of GG. One of the things that GG likes to do, Gautam likes to do, is have a lot of all-rounders. So Gautam's formula normally is he likes Indian batsmen. So Manish Pandey, he's going to tell Manish Pandey, KL Rahul, you guys are going to do the heavy lifting. Deepak Hooda, Kunal Pandya, you guys are going to do the heavy lifting. He likes his all-rounders. Stoinis, Holder. You're going to see at least 3 all-rounders in every match because he knows that in this IPL, especially in the beginning, you're going to have a situation where every bowler is going to go. Okay? Because, teams chasing will have an advantage. Small pitches, true tracks like the Wankhede, before the pitches get tired, balls are going to go all over the place. It's good to have bowling reserves out here. That's what he's gone and done. His only problem is still Jason Holder comes, Avesh can't just say with the bowling attack. That bowling attack is looking a bit thin right now today. But that shouldn't be the case as the tournament moves on. This is very much though a stamped GG team, absolutely.
Yeah, well, we've seen what he did when he transformed the Kolkata franchise. Of course, he was there as captain and as opening batsman. Slightly different role for him. He's had a bit of dabbling in politics in between. So I wonder if that side of him kind of comes in there. But for now, from the politician, we move to the South African connection. Again, different shade of blue for Quinton de Kock. Shaun, he was so well settled at Mumbai. Is he the kind of personality who will adapt quickly to a new bunch of guys?
Yeah, he will. It won't be too stressful for him. I think in many ways he lands with his bum in the butter. He keeps having a really fantastic partner on the other side there. He's had Rohit Sharma for so many years. Now he goes the other side and you get KL Rahul. I was looking at his facts and figures over the last few RPLs and he's just been tremendous. So the two of them should really be able to sponge off each other and perform superbly well. So I have no issues with him adapting to a new franchise. I think he'll be just good.
Yep, we had a look at Quinton de Kock's numbers and we started our discussion with one of the two captains, that is, of course, Hardik Pandya. But on the other side, we've got a man who was in charge of Punjab. He will have watched his side or his former side do extremely well last night. But now he'll know he has a different task at hand. Joy, all along, well before the auction started, he made it clear that he was wanting to move somewhere else. Some felt that maybe he was going to Bangalore. He would have made an ideal captain, home city, ideal captain for Virat Kohli. Ends up in Lucknow. He was in full demand.
He was in full demand. I think, I'm sure Gujarat would have spoken to him. I'm sure Lucknow would have spoken to him. Obviously, they got him finally. Bangalore would have spoken to me. Even Kolkata would have said, all these guys would have said, you're a captain, come here and captain. Because if you remember, there's a lot of captaincy slots open as well. What he'd be looking for are 2-3 things. He'd be looking for stability, and he'd be looking for a place where they surround him with the kind of batting that doesn't put so much pressure on him, feeling that, if I and Mayank don't do it at the top, there's nobody out there to follow. So I think that is the big thing that he wants, and he wants that comfort. And I think he would have just gone, and Gautam would have had a word with him. Remember, he would have worked with Andy Flower in Punjab for a while. So there must be some amount of comfort there in terms of their relationship there. I think this is an ideal landing spot for him, and he's just got to forget about for a while. He's got to be Rahul a bit more carefree than he was in the last couple of years. Mind you, having said that, if despite being with all the pressure that you have, you score the number of runs. 626 runs is 138, and we are saying, we are still nitpicking and saying he was too preoccupied with his captaincy. I think we have unrealistic expectations. Look at those numbers. It's unbelievable. 593 is the lowest. 500 plus is what you call VIP, 5-star batting in an IPL tournament. And he consistently averages over 600, closer to 650 than 600. He's a freak of nature right now.
But Joy, having said that, and Shaun, I'll come to you on this, there was a point when he was actually playing well within himself. He still ended up making it up for it at the end of the season. But there was a point when he was playing as KL Rahul, the captain, rather than KL Rahul, the batsman. He needs to not start that way for Lucknow. Shaun?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I like the flexibility. I like the adapting your game to what's required in a match. There's absolutely nothing wrong. If they post 140, you play accordingly. You get yourself 18 not out, game done and dusted. You've won and you've taken the responsibility as captain. If they post a 230, then you come out with the other KL Rahul and you start going hard at the deliveries and trying to get the team under pressure and off to a fast start. So I think it's actually maturity that we ask for. We often see some of the guys, the dashers, who we sometimes say, if only they would just hold themselves back at times and give themselves a bit of a chance, particularly on a dodgy surface or in the situation of a match. I think he's got it gauged. I don't think I have any issues with how he'll decide to go about it. Those runs, even that 593, I can remember there was 2 flicks off the thigh pad that he got an edge on and they didn't give it to him. They gave him his leg bar, so he would have got 600 there. I'm just making up stories. But, to perform that way and not really have got into playoffs and not got into finals and not won championships, I think people will say that's a slap in the face.
Yeah, well, that's KL Rahul. Sometimes you could talk about it as being just the karma of the team. Will they set it right this year? They've certainly had a step in the right direction, have Punjab, as far as yesterday was concerned. But today it's going to be Lucknow against Gujarat. Obviously, we've seen in terms of the toss, all 3 games have been won by the side chasing. But for now, digress slightly because we reminded you yesterday, Ask Cricbuzz Live, get in your questions. Vipul has a question. Shami, Lockie, Rashid, is this Gujarat bowling attack the strongest in the tournament? What happens if they play to their potential? Well, when we saw the lineup, Joy, that's the first thing that struck us because throughout the 2 days, all we've talked about for every team is, the team looks good. I'm a little worried about the bowling. This one is stronger than anything we've seen so far.
Stronger than anything, but that's the point. These are all on paper. They're performing. I to be honest with you, I thought this year's RCB bowling side looked really good to me. Siraj is there. You had Hasaranga, and they got taken for over 200 runs. So look, on paper, this is a great side. And again, what I want to talk about is genuine pace matters in conditions like this. So Lockie, because the ball is not doing very much. Okay, the ball's playing through is not doing very much. So pace like Lockie will matter. And Shami always has the skill. Unfortunately, Shami also has a tendency to go for runs. Rashid Khan is the bank out there. But that's the point, that if they can attack, if they can get early wickets, this is not the greatest batting side in the world. But as a bowling side, Rashid, Shami, and Lockie are a very, very potent combination together. Now it all depends on how their fourth bowler does and whether Vijay Shankar, Hardik Pandya can give them decent overs. But these three definitely are very, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, and another point to be made there, because people, or teams rather, tend not to go after Rashid Khan anymore. We typically see a 4 overs, none for 19 kind of spell for him. So maybe that's, on the one hand, for the other bowlers, it's an opportunity to say that we are the ones who'll get wickets. But for the batting side, are they going to be looking at attacking those bowlers that we've talked about?
Yeah, there could be. I mean, Rashid's basically always MVP when it comes to the bowling department, isn't he? Yes, it might be because some sides decide not to go after him, but he's better than that. Just to keep him out at times can be a challenge, and that's what he possesses, and he obviously possesses that ability to pick up wickets. I like the Lockie Ferguson look of it as well, because he's one of those guys who can have impact, with the new ball in the middle overs at the back end. He's that kind of guy who can do a serious job. And Shami, I've always liked the what he brings to the party. I mean, he's got so much experience now. I think he started to work the T20 game in the last 18 months or so. We've started to see a better understanding for what's required at different times, at the front end, at the back end. So I'm expecting a polished performance from him. I think it will be down to the other 20 overs. How can they mix and match? Who will stand up and do the job on a particular surface? But when you look at that 3, you've got to think that to get those 3 out of the auction, they've done well.
Well, as far as MVP Rashid Khan, or potential MVP Rashid Khan, is concerned, but if we start talking about an MVP from a few decades ago, and every time I think of it, I keep wondering, what if this gentleman was around in today's era? Who are we talking about? Guess who? Yes, indeed. Whether you're talking about real or real, certainly it's the kind of memory, the kind of stroke that you want to sort of relive in your mind time after time. And for many, they have never seen this before, Joy. I mean, when you go back to 1983, it's one thing to have it on film. It's one thing for the fact that that particular innings, 175, wasn't seen on television. But to be able to use technology and relive that moment means that it becomes all the more special for what really could be a pivotal moment in Indian cricket history.
Absolutely. It is a pivotal moment. I remember hearing it on commentary throughout every moment of it. And I remember that because everyone says Kapil walked in at 17 for 5. He didn't. He walked in at 9 for 4, and then another batsman fell on the other side. I remember the worry when Binny went out, and then finally Kirmani giving him all that. I mean, these memories are absolutely indelible. I also have to say, Gautam, I believe you were very close to watching the match. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm going to leave that for another day. It's a long story, and it's a painful story, and it'll be a story that I'll end up slapping myself in the face. So,
okay.
Moral of the story, if you need to slap someone, do it to yourself. But yeah.
Okay, wait. Before you go up to slap, I have to just tell you one thing which I really, really enjoyed. And that is the fact that if you've seen this video, the video that they've made about this is 183, what they've done is they've shot in what is current ad format, which is they've shot it from every angle. So what you've got, you would have not even what they've recreated, you would never even be able to do that, see that, if the match had been actually covered by BBC. You see it from an angle, you can actually turn down and see where the ball is flicked, where he hits his famous Nataraj shot, where the ball goes. And I think it's incredible because what they did was they sat with him and they went stroke by stroke. They went with the scorer's card and said, okay, this shot, where did you hit? And because it's such a memorable innings, Kapil remembers this to a T. So shot by shot, it's been recreated. And I can tell you, for my generation, it's an experience to relive. But for the current generation, it's a great, great idea into how great this guy actually was. He's amazing.
And the current generation, of course, have grown up on Airtel 5G. They know what new technology is, so they'll be able to sort of relate to it a lot more, and certainly magical. the fact that Airtel 5G is able to recreate this moment and bring it to us larger than life from every possible angle. But Shaun, we keep talking about 175. I know, Joy, you called it 183. We're merging the two. 1983 the year,
Yeah,
175 the
yeah,
year. You put them together, it becomes 183 is MSD.
MSD and Saurav Ganguly at Taunton with Rahul Dravid. Oh God!
Correct. Yeah, there you go. Well, there's many more that we maybe want to get Airtel 5G to try and recreate. But Shaun, if you had to pick a moment from cricket history that you'd like to ask the folks at Airtel that I want to relive it again, what would it be?
I've actually seen some footage. I think probably the Trent Bridge Test match with my uncle and my dad. The coverage there was a little bit average compared to this modern technology that we've got, and obviously shot basically from one angle. So it'd be nice to watch my uncle get the 100. My dad got some wickets and watch him from different angles. Go to fine leg and see him get a wicket from there, and then go to the change room and see him get a wicket from there, and watch the different shots and how powerfully they were hit, because often you get a sense of how hard a ball's hit. So say if you're at the cover boundary and the guy smashes one to cover, and as it comes towards you, you see the pace that it does. So you could just go into that angle. So I think it's a fantastic development. And I think for me, I've seen that coverage. And they run around like Charlie Chaplin movies.
Yeah, I know.
Not being able to really pick it up in black and white. Yeah, so I wouldn't mind that one being done.
Yeah, well, two legends being referred to, Peter Pollock and Graham Pollock. And we are with the product of that fabulous South African cricketing family, Shaun Pollock, right here on Cricbuzz Live. And if we could get all that magic together, it can only mean one thing, that Airtel 5G is the future. For now, it's the present, but with all that magic, we know it's going to be the future. And what a way to integrate it with sporting brilliance. Well, at the moment, we are, of course, talking about being in the present and what's happening in the present. Quick reminder, it's Lucknow against Gujarat. This is Lucknow batting first, having lost the toss. Rahul will be walking out in all probability with Quinton de Kock. There's no reason for them to think of any two other batsmen out there, with the likes of Manish Pandey, Evan Lewis, Deepak Hooda, Pandya to all follow, looking strong in the batting department. They'll want to put enough runs on the board. So far, no team in this tournament has put a total on the board and defended it. Gujarat, on the other hand, will be probably hoping to chase it down and make it 4 out of 4, led by Hardik Pandya. Look at that bowling lineup. Rashid Khan, Lockie Ferguson, Mohammad Shami, Varun Aaron, and of course, Rahul Tewatia always gets into the game. Before we end the show, it's time to get the grey cells working, Joy. It's your time. What do we have? What kind of an interesting, intriguing question do we have for today?
Okay, before I give a question, I have to give a piece of Oscar trivia that I absolutely love. The play Macbeth. Now, the play Macbeth by Shakespeare, it's considered an unlucky play. People have died performing it, fires have broken out. So whenever they actually perform Macbeth on a stage in UK, they never call it Macbeth. They say the Scottish play or that play. They will never mention Macbeth because it's considered bad luck. So in the Academy Awards today, the 94th Academy Awards today, Chris Rock, actually, Denzel Washington congratulated him for his performance in a film called The Tragedy of Macbeth. 40 seconds later, Will Smith walks up and does what he does to him. So, the moment he says Macbeth on stage, something happens. And I find it absolutely incredible that so many years later, the curse of Macbeth still comes back. It's absolutely amazing.
I trust you to find that one. The world is talking about it in different ways, and Joy has found the real reason why what happened actually happened. Now give us today's question.
Okay, today's question, I think Shaun has a great chance of getting, and here's your question. Who bowled a super over in his very first match for his franchise in this tournament? And there's a little bit of a trick out there.
Who bowled a super over in his very first over for his franchise in a tournament?
First match for his tournament, not
first match. Listen to the clue, and then we will go forward and see what needs to be done after that. Hashtag Cricbuzz Live, get in your answers. If we know all of you, you've probably already started getting them in. Quick prediction, gentlemen, and let me just give you a little bit of information. Lucknow have lost a wicket of their very first ball. In case you were thinking of saying 250, you might have to review your prediction. KL Rahul has gone caught behind to Mohammad Shami. A review was taken of the very first delivery of the Lucknow franchise. Not an auspicious start. Hardik Pandya, they thought long and hard and they went for the review. It was an excellent review because it showed a little bit of a tickle. Yeah, not a slap on the bat. It was just a tickle. Just a tickle. All right, Joy. Based on that, what are you going to be going with as a final figure for Lucknow?
I'm going to go with they're going to have nerves, but and Evan Lewis is not. He's either here or there. He's either 100 or 0. I'm going to go 157.
157. Is that revision after Rahul got out?
Definitely. I mean,
it should be, of course. You allowed that. That's why I gave it.
Yeah.
Sean?
Quinton Cock's playing on his home ground, isn't he?
Come on, Shaun. That's naughty. That's really naughty.
Okay. 167. I'm going 167. 10 more.
All righty, 167. I might actually lowball that one. I'm going to go 140. And yes, of course, influenced by that early wicket. 2 new franchises haven't quite got that chemistry going. Let's see if the 140 works. We'll see how far they are in the 10th over. But a dramatic start for these 2 new franchises. Gujarat have taken a wicket of their first ball in history. Lucknow have lost a wicket in their first ball in history. There you go. Lots more to talk about. That's all we have now from Cricbuzz Live.